What's up, y'all? Austin, otherwise known as Ooplesoft, here with a brand new video from a brand new series I like to call The Rating, the show that recognizes that you just want to skip to the end of my review to figure out what I rate games, right? That's what we all just want to hear without any spoilers. So I'm just going to tell you that I rate Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS5 an 8.5 out of 10. I'm just going to do a quick list off. If you want to continue watching without any spoilers, I loved how natural the story felt. I loved how deep the combat was, and I loved how incredibly detailed everything from the city streets and the people in it to Spider-Man suits and swinging animations are. So those are three things I absolutely loved. For the three things I hated, though, this game is too damn short. 6-hour playthrough for a story is laughable for a full price game. Speaking of laughing, I laughed at the normal difficulty. I think that the definitive way to play it is at spectacular because it's the one that is most like what Spider-Man would realistically be facing up against when you take into account the power of these villains, right, with the cannon. And then finally, last thing I hated was that there's not enough bosses. Getting into spoilers now, you can click away from the video. That's it. I rated 8.5 out of 10, and those are the six things that I had to note about it, just in general. Jumping into spoilers now, though, speaking about no bosses or not enough, there's only three: the Tinkerer, Rhino, and Prowler. Okay, and Rhino is recycled twice, Tinkerer is recycled twice, and you don't even get to play as the Prowler. You only get to fight him in some crappy subway punch out. Okay, it's not enough, Insomniac. Please, the last game had everyone from Doc Ock to Electro, the Vulture. They even threw in Mr. Negative and Kingpin in, for the whole story, right? And we didn't get any of that with Miles Morales. And I understand that, right? Still going to spoilers now. This story takes place when he is just starting to learn his powers, right? And he's very amateur, very unfamiliar, right? And it's very obvious in the way that he swings his webs and stuff. He's just kind of like gripping on as if like he's gonna fall off any moment because the dude doesn't know his stuff yet, right? And he makes constant mistakes throughout the story. And I'm just kind of intermingling what I hated with what I liked now because the story, of course, feels greatly natural. And I understood that, as a concession to the fact that I thought the story was too short and that there was not enough bosses, they did take all the crap out. There's no hacking, there's no MJ missions, there's no bad stealth sections. Like, incorporating the stealth and the camouflage into the main combat was one of the best decisions Insomniac could have made. There are literally no boring sections of this because as soon as you become human and start walking around and talking to folks and do what can be considered as the most boring parts, there's immediate action. People get shot and things blow up and you're just like, oh my god, time to stop a crime. It was a great time to be Spider-Man, right? And so that's exactly what happens, right? If you want, you can just run right through all those sections and only fight. I wouldn't recommend it because I thought the story was great. It actually got me to cry. But with all of that, with taking the crap out of, from the first game, I still think Insomniac could have given us another boss. It's just ridiculous to me that we get to fight all of these members of Roxxon security forces, right? They have all of these gadgets that fight, that combat your powers with like the venom mines and uh just a ton of stuff, right? That is meant to hurt you. It's not just guns, okay? They have a lot of gadgets. Why did we never see a Roxxon head of security as a mini boss? Right? I understood that Simon Krieger was, calling the shots here, but the Tinkerer is the head of the underground in this story, right? That's the gang. That's the other gang that fights you. They're the ones in purple. They kind of did a Crips and Bloods kind of thing where the underground is purple and then the collective is red, and that's kind of where the similarities end between the gangs. My bad. It's just the colors that are the same, and everybody's dressed the same. So then you have the Tinkerer, who is a culmination of all the underground forces. She can grab you. She can She can throw guns, she can throw rockets at you. She has the flying death wheels, and she basically is able to incorporate everything from lower enemy types into her boss battle, and we never see that when we fight Roxanne. Instead, we get a second Rhino fight, and instead of being gray, he's red, and he's immune to venom punches unless you hit circle at the right time, which is stupid. Like, for me, that is one of the worst ways that we can redo that Rhino fight, because it's the same way that we fought him before. Just we're on his back and we're grabbing him. We just, we stampede him into a wall and we punch him. It's just tried out. It's tired out. I mean, why not just give us like a head of security for Roxanne as a mini boss? He could have been totally forgettable, because the Rhino was totally forgettable. He didn't do anything beyond those 2 fights. There's no other purpose served in the story there besides kidnapping, Miles and the Tinkerer. So that's kind of what I hated, right? I did mention there were not enough bosses, the story was too short. Also, the laughable difficulty. I'm just going to say one thing about that. You really can only play it spectacular. In normal, you just get shot in the face and you just can tank it, which makes no sense. And I understand that it's to make it more accessible, but that's way too easy for normal difficulty. That should not be the default, because people are just going to play that game and get bored. Like, I legit was yawning playing at normal difficulty, and that's not a flex, y'all. Like, I was not good at the first game, but I will say that I was way better at taking shots in this one. I don't know if it was like my skill between the two, but Miles just feels stronger at normal difficulty than Peter did in the last one. So that's all I'll say about what I hated. Now, what I loved with spoilers, the story felt super, super natural. It sucks that it was short, but it felt incredibly natural, because every other mission that happens after the first one is a result of Miles's mistakes. And these mistakes are not dumb, right? They're not things that you would just be like, come on, like, how could you, like, do that stupid thing, like walk into that room when you knew the murderer was there. It's not like that. What it's like instead is, Miles forgets to call a friend. Miles doesn't check up on somebody. Miles doesn't have an honest relationship with his mother. And that affects the way that the story develops and progresses, and the fights that you have to find yourself into. And I love that so much, because you see how there are consequences to your actions, right? But if you remain unapologetically yourself while still making sure to protect the people you love and to do right by them, that you will succeed. That's what Miles Morales teaches us. That, the tagline of the game is to be yourself. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the way the story progresses. Now, for the second thing I loved, with a little bit of spoilers thrown in, the combat, super deep. Like, you have a ton of gadgets, you have the active camouflage, and you have all the Venom movesets. And they just keep sprinkling it in there like it's Doom Eternal, and you're getting those weapons just bam, 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 and it just happens at the perfect time, because you're like, oh my God, how am I going to kick this guy's ass? He's super strong, and he blocks everything else I'm able to. Oh, I have a new Venom power? Oh, I just wrecked that guy? And it's so much fun. It really makes you feel like a master. At the very end of the game, you just demolish folks, even at spectacular difficulty. Like I said, I suck at the game, but when you get a hang of it, and when the game is able to teach you and you give it the chance to, you become better, right? And you end up dying less, a lot like a Souls-like, Now, for the last reason I really love this game, the detail was super incredible. And I'm not just talking about the graphics, folks. I actually prefer to play this game at performance mode, because I think that 60 FPS looks way better than any 30 FPS with ray tracing. Like, it looks great, right? Like the reflections on the windows and just everything that they were able to include in the fidelity package. But the game still looks awesome without it. So I don't know why you would sacrifice your reaction time and the fluidity of your movement for just ray tracing. Like, I just don't think it's worth it. But that's not what I'm talking about when I say the detail is incredible. What I'm talking about instead are the different suits in the game. are amazing. And this is kind of the testament to the detail. I mean, it's just an example that proves this point. Every single suit has a different swinging animation, has a different walking animation, has a different way that Miles carries himself about. And that's a kind of detail that they didn't have to add. This could have been just another reskin. This could have been just another, like, like Overwatch, where you just toss on a different coat of paint and that's it. You might have some different mods, but they really didn't have to affect the model themselves. And when I went ahead and saw that, because I actually played the majority of the game in the Spider-Verse suit, I was pleasantly surprised and really appreciative of the fact that Insomniac did that, because it just shows that they did take a lot of time and care in this game, right? For as short as it is, and for not having enough bosses and stuff, it's clear that they put a lot of time and effort in things like the story, in the combat, and the detail. And, at the end of the day, it's a very nice, digestible experience. I think it's a great game, a great first game to try out, if you want to see what ray tracing looks like on the PS5. I just don't think it's worth full price, right? I give it an 8.5 out of 10, and I'd give it a 9 if it was just like $10 cheaper, because for something this short with, you're not even able to play as like the Prowler, which makes no sense because they literally coded the mechanics in Miles' suit, the camouflage and the mines and stuff. It makes no sense that you can't play as the Prowler in it. With those kind of detractors, I think is what keeps it from being like one of my games of the year. It's definitely up there, but for those reasons, I'm going to have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And I don't want to keep you all for any longer. I already told you 3 things I loved, 3 things I hated. And folks, you've been watching OopleSoft, otherwise known as Austin, here on my brand new show, The Rating. The one that knows that you're just going to skip to the end. And if you already did, just know that I'll tell you again, I gave Miles Morales an 8.5 out of 10. Thanks, y'all. I'll catch you next time.